Oh boy, it's time for the boat map. My name is Kibi, and this is Chapter 11, Phantom Ship, of my Fire Emblem 8 0% Growths, low turn count playthrough. To start things off, we take a moment to get a hammer from the Chapter 10 armory. That won't see any usage, as you'll see in this map, however it will be useful in a few maps from now. As for this actual map, oh boy, Chapter 11 of Ephraim Route is a pretty infamous one in this game. It's probably the hardest map in the game to beat, especially if you're blind and not aware of the gimmick of this map, essentially. It's very tough. However, we do have tools to deal with this map. Thankfully, we got two great units, Duessel, who I've already harped on, and Cormag right here, who just promoted to Wyvern Knight. Wyvern Knight is a very nice promotion for Cormag since it gives him +3 speed, bringing him from a pretty mediocre 10 to a very respectable 13, which is even faster than Duessel and Seth. And that's very nice because, as you'll see, flying will be very essential. A very essential ability to do in this map. Because, yeah, this map is pretty annoying. We do have other units that are going to be helping out. Obviously, our main combat units such as Seth, Duessel, and Cormag are going to be doing stuff. Other niche units such as Tana and Vanessa will be contributing too, as will our good guy Joshua. We got his promotion item last map, so we can promote him this map. Between the two promotions, in general, both promotions are pretty depressing because neither of them give skill and speed. However, Swordmaster gives a nice 15 crit bonus, which will help Joshua kill some stuff easier. He also advances his weapon rank a bit more so that he can use silver swords eventually. And yeah, now we can take a good long look at this map. All of the fog, all of the boat, it's all wonderful. So yeah, as you can see, this is a fog of war map, which means that our vision is limited, and we have to use stuff such as torch staves in order to have any semblance of vision. And it's also a boat map, which means that the movement of basically all our grounded units are restricted to this boat area. And it really doesn't seem that bad initially. I mean, there's a few flying enemies around which only our flying units can really attack. However, I mean, there aren't that many enemies. There are only a few Gargoyles and Moguls, so we just need to kill those guys and then we'll finish the map, right? Right? I wish. However, it still is nice to get the jump on a few of these flying enemies. In general, there are a few flying Gargoyles, and those guys can be pretty annoying because they are quite fast and defensively tough. But now you can see the main force of enemies on this secondary boat that is now appearing. And oh boy, just look at how many there are. All types of Bonewalkers and archer skeletons, which are also called Bonewalkers, I guess. And zombies. Seth is about to reveal even more. It's a very stacked boat of just a ton of enemies, and we have to use our flyers to get the jump on these enemies, because as you can see, there's no way to get from one boat to the other, quite yet anyways. And so it's very important that we use our flyers, Tana and Vanessa, to drop Seth and Duessel there. And those two units can take on all of these monsters, because even though this is a route map with a ton of enemies, and even though it's a boat map, and even though it's fog of war, for what it's worth, at least all of the enemies are monsters. And even though there are some tougher ones, such as we'll see some promoted ones soon, and also the Gargoyles are tough, at least the zombies and Bonewalkers, they're still easy as ever to just obliterate. They don't even deal damage to Duessel, deal very little to Seth. We make sure to equip 1-range weapons. We could equip 1-2 range because there are a few guys wielding javelins, and there's also some archers. However, since most of the enemies are melee enemies, we can just kind of kill them anyways, or most of them, and deal with the 1-2 range later on the next turn. So yeah, it's very nice to do this maneuver to get your enemies over to the boat, because otherwise you have to wait until next turn to finally fight them. And we need to advance some frailer units next turn, so we can't really afford to have that many enemies attacking. We also had Joshua bait over a Gargoyle. We don't want that guy attacking Seth because Seth doesn't do too much damage with an Iron Lance. Meanwhile, at least Joshua doubles and can kill him next turn. In general, the tougher enemies such as Gargoyles, we kind of want to separate from our main fighting force, Duessel and Seth. Speaking of which, Duessel is starting to get the jump on that promoted zombie. He's pretty strong. He doesn't move quite yet, but he'll start moving soon enough if you give him the chance. So it's important that we start killing him now. And also, we finally have the planks. The planks are the primary way you're supposed to approach the boat. And if we didn't do the flyer trick, you can imagine how many enemies there we would have to deal with through these few planks. And that would be really annoying. I think it even cost a turn because we need to advance units such as Kyle forward, and Kyle can't deal with so many zombies and stuff. Meanwhile, there's also the start of some reinforcements. You saw some Moguls appear from the corners, which Tana and Vanessa are dealing with right now. And it's very fortunate that they can deal with those because those guys are stationary and they're just kind of chilling in the corners. Unless you're managing your vision very well, it's very likely you wouldn't even know those guys appeared, or at least you wouldn't be able to see them initially. But thankfully, we're able to just get those Moguls out of the way. They're stationary, so we can use a stronger Iron Lance, or even a Slim Lance to double. Vanessa needs a Pure Water in order to survive that stuff. It kind of prevents other units from using the Pure Water, and Seth would have liked it later in this map, but he manages. We have Kyle with a Javelin. He's able to double some of these Bonewalkers because of how much of a joke they are. That guy is stationary. In general, the AI on this map is another reason why it's so weird. That guy was stationary. You saw some Moguls up above Seth earlier that enemy phase. They didn't move either, if you noticed. I already mentioned how the corner Moguls are stationary as well. In general, those guys are stationary until a certain turn count in which they move. You see that the skeleton Duessel just killed, a nice one-round KO, but again, he was stationary for that entire time. I guess it's kind of good because dealing with that guy would be pretty scary if he moved and attacked Kyle. However, it's pretty nice that... However, it's still kind of annoying. Stationary enemies are annoying on a route map because you have to invest so much movement to get over to where they are so that they can die. So we're finally ready to get most of our units onto the boat, and we're able to route most of them, protecting Natasha and, mainly protecting Natasha in the process. Speaking of our healers, Natasha and Mulder have been spamming Torch for the most part. Torch is, since this is a Fog of War map, of course we're going to spam that Torch staff. I've already said, gives a lot of experience, and more importantly gives a metric ton of staff experience, which I think Natasha even got C Staves earlier in this map because of nice Torch staff usage. You see that those Moguls that Cormag is attacking, they're stationary as well, and they reinforced out of nowhere. If I didn't deliberately place Cormag there in vision, no casual player would know where these guys are coming from. I guess that the movement kind of indicates oh man, there are enemies reinforcing, but you don't exactly know where, and that's kind of what makes this chapter just problematic, what makes it kind of unfair. Definitely not a noob friendly chapter, I'd say. However, we're finally dealing with most of these enemies. Ephraim baited over a Gargoyle, which we will kill next turn. Cormag cleaned up his guys, and oh boy, look at all these reinforcements, even more. You saw guys, you'll see Cormag reveal some Moguls that reinforced from below. You saw that huge consortium of Gargoyles all the way to the left. We had to send Duessel over there to help out Joshua deal with those guys. And you can see these gargoyles are kind of tough to deal with. You saw Ephraim chip them on the enemy phase, and then it takes all three of Forde, Kyle, and Ephraim to kill him on player phase. Oh boy. And you even saw another boat come out of nowhere, and oh boy, if that boat came with more enemies, I probably would have broke, as would most casual players at this point. But thankfully enough, it is not filled with any enemies, but rather two NPCs, a Berserker and a Troubadour. So I guess I'll go over both of them right now because nothing else notable is really happening. We're just kind of cleaning up the stuff where we just have to get that route done. So those two NPCs, they recruit themselves if you just leave them be, and they survive the map. So that's what we're gonna do. Their names are La Rochelle, the Troubadour, and Duessel, the Berserker. I'll go over Duessel first. Duessel is a very nice unit. You can see that he is a Berserker, which means that he gets a plus 15 crit bonus, and critting is cool. It's a nice form of offense. Even more importantly, his defensive stats are really great. 43 HP is just really a ton, even more than Duessel. And he is also not too shabby on the defensive and resistance side. He is quite slow at 9 speed. That'll get doubled soon enough, and he's not really doubling much either. However, he has a massive strength stat of 16, I believe. Yeah, that's absolutely huge, and that lets him do stuff like one-hit KO gargoyles, and not many of our other units can do that. It also is a result of his strong battle axe. So yeah, he's definitely going to be useful for the next few chapters. Also, Berserkers have the ability to water walk, that sort of thing. As for La Rochelle, let me think, La Rochelle, I think that's the official pronunciation. La Rochelle, oh boy, she is not a good unit. She's not the worst unit in the game. Staves are cool and all, and that sort of thing, but oh boy, she's probably the most disappointing, I'd say, because she has so many ways, or she could have potentially been such a useful unit. She could have had 7 move and be able to rescue drop 15 move units, but she can't do that since she has only 6 move, even though she has a mount. Like, come on, man. Other Troubadours in the series have 7 move, why can't you? She also could have come with C Staves and used Restore and Barrier later in the game, but no, she can't do that. She comes with D Staves. She also could have come earlier, or even at the beginning of this map, so that she could spam Torch for a bit, but no! She arrives in the second to last Fog of War map in the game, so she won't have any opportunity to Torch. She could have been close to promotion, so that she could fight, or again get that staff rank up, but no! None of that. Why would you do any of that? So that's kind of my rant on La Rochelle. She's not bad, but she's so low level, level 3, and she really doesn't have much going for her. So despite being a cool character, she won't be seeing much use at all. We killed the boss with Duessel with a Killer Axe crit, and he dropped the short spear, allowing us to convoy drop the Killer Axe and get a hand axe for this enemy phase. That allows him to kill those gargoyles from 2 range. And that's chapter 11, completed in 6 turns. Yeah, can't do it in 5 because Cormag can't kill him with Pierce, without Pierce. See you guys next time for this nice map.